Alright, Allarus Custodian breakdown time. Welcome back to the channel, 40k degenerates. You're watching Theory Hammer. I am the legendary creature Kevbot. I'm like a 10-10 with trample and infect. And today, we're going to take a deep dive into the Allarus Custodians and figure out which loadout is the better one, the spears or the axes. So Guardian Spear that like button, or Castellan Axe it, who knows? Then Thunderhammer subscribe, Alarify the Nurgle bell icon, and of course, check out our other videos as well. We do 40k stuff. So, Allarus are kind of in a weird spot to me, but I think that a single unit of them can add a lot of really interesting punch to your army, while taking small units adds a lot of versatility. A big unit of these guys, like 5 to 6 of them, is pretty damn good, especially in a shield host detachment, and of course with a captain who gives them free stratagems. This unit is mega expensive though, at 390 points for 6. They're like 65 points apiece, and that's a lot. So you are getting toughness 7 with 4 wounds. I mean, should they be 5 wounds? Yeah, of course they should be, but they aren't. So we'll talk about their durability a bit later. They aren't like crazy durable, but first we're going to take a look at their shooting briefly, and that give you like 2 or 3 examples. So first we have a captain attached, and that captain is giving us free strats. That captain is also probably taking the Ignores Cover enhancement. It's like the Panopta specs or whatever. Or he has the +1 strength and +1 damage enhancement, but for the purposes of this, we're going to say he's got the Panopta specs. From the Hall of Armories or whatever is the +1 strength and detachment one, but yeah, Panopta specs is what we're going with. If we have the Ignores Cover enhancement, we can actually get some pretty good shooting out of these guys. It's nothing crazy insane, but it is some good shooting. So each guy has D6 shots with their grenade, right, at AP1. Now with Ignores Cover. It's a pretty good start. Then they have a spear gun. Don't think about it too much, especially if it's the axe gun. Each of those is 2 shots, so we have 14 shots from those, and they are AP1 and 2 damage. And so overall, you're going to get like 24 shots with the grenades, and that's close to 40 shots hitting on 2s with AP1 and potentially Ignores Cover. In this case, we're giving Ignores Cover. And that's like total between the spears and all the grenades. You have like 38, to 40 shots. So, yeah, if you give it the Archaeotech munitions, I think is what the strat is called, they get lethal or sustained hits. So, remember, these guys have reroll wounds against vehicles and monsters. All wounds. So against like a medium tank, we're talking like 9 wounds from the grenades and like 5 from the spears, all at AP1 and Ignores Cover. So you're probably getting a 4-up save unless you have like Armor of Contempt, and if you don't, then that's like 4.5 wounds from the grenades and then another 5 wounds from the spears. I know you can't actually do 5 wounds with the spears because they're 2 damage apiece, but we're just talking mathematical averages. So pretty good actually. And then that's for free if you need it to be, because that captain can give you free strats. But otherwise, that is just 1 CP to get lethals or sustained, and it does boost their output a little bit. So let's shoot something like infantry unit, like guard, right? They're in cover. We ignore cover. They took cover, so we ignore that because we're AP1. So they're on a 5-up save. Our blast weapon, our grenade things, it gets 5 extra shots per dude if we shoot a blob with like a command squad. So 25 guard in a unit, we get like 60 shots. If we go with sustained, we get 60 shots. So we get 40 wounds. They fail like 26 of them. You make like 5 feel no pain, so something like 4 feel no pains. You kill a bunch. And then the entire unit is dead, and we didn't even shoot the spears. I wasn't even expecting the results from the grenades themselves, actually. That's kind of ridiculous. The spears on average, so they'll do like 14 hits if you're doing sustained. You're looking at like 10 wounds, which is like 6, 7 dead. So yeah, the whole unit dies. Damn, I was actually not expecting them to just vape an entire guard unit with take cover and with in cover. So that's pretty good. How about a Crusader squad? Like a maxed out one. So we're looking at like 53 hits with sustained 1 from the grenades. Those are going to wound on 4s, so about half, that's like 27. Your 4-up save becomes a 5-up save if you're taking it on the scouts, which you probably do. So like 18 of them get through and kill 9 of the scouts. And then you have the spears, which equates to like 7 wounds after all is said and done. And then that gets rid of the rest of the scouts and maybe a marine or 2. So it's kind of okay there. You did wipe out 10 bodies with 2 wounds. They're just not great targets, but you can still do major damage to them either way. But let's move on to their combat, because that's really what this video is about. Because the shield host detachment gives them access to +1 AP or criticals on 5-ups. And so that makes the hammers, I keep calling them hammers, it makes the axes especially interesting. And the shield host attachment is basically the only one that I like. There may be another good one out there. There probably is, but the shield host is where it's at for sure. And those axes being 3 damage and getting that +1 AP in this detachment, it's just like, whew, man, that's so much more relevant. And the numbers seem to show it. So we got a bunch of different things that we're attacking today, starting with a Land Raider, of course, with Armor of Contempt. And I'm just going to say this now, anything we target that can have Armor of Contempt has Armor of Contempt included in the math. So first up is a Land Raider, which is better, the spears or the axes? So if we hit it with the spears first, we're going to get 30 attacks total. 15 of them will actually hit, but 10 of them are lethals. So total number of wounds is 18. It'll fail 6 because it's only going to be AP 1 because they have Armor of Contempt. And it takes 12 damage. So, not dead. Then if you use your Sustained, you're getting 35 hits, which is pretty nice. You will get more wounds because you are re-rolling to wound on 5s because you're Strength 7. So you're going to average out a little bit more damage at, your 6.5 wounds-ish that they'll say that they'll fail, which will equate to 12 damage, maybe 13 damage, which isn't possible, but you understand that this is just the averages here. But what if we go with +1 AP and then lethal hits? We get 20 hits, we get then 5 lethals. We end up with 16 wounds, but it only gets a 4-up save this time, and it fails 8, which is 16 damage and enough to destroy the Land Raider. So your spears can get it done. If you do +1 AP and you have Sustained, you're going to get 30 hits, a little bit more wounds, you're going to get half an extra wound, and, doing a half an extra damage, basically. So, when it comes to killing a Land Raider, your spears are doing 16.5 damage. But let's try with the axes. I have hammers written down, but you know what? They're axes, and I understand that. But I'm going to call them hammers. I'm going to use it interchangeably because I'm allowed to. So we're smacking a Land Raider with these axes, these hammers. If we go with crits on 5 for lethals, we get 24 attacks, because they have only 4 attacks piece with the axes. But they hit with 12, and then 8 are lethal. They reroll wounds with those 12. They get 14.6 total because of the 8 that are lethal. It only fails 2.5, and it takes 7-ish damage. So not great math on that. If you use the criticals on 5s for Sustained, though, you get 28 hits, actually. Right? Yeah, 28 hits. Then you get 15 wounds with the rerolls. It fails a little bit more, and you do about 8 damage to the Land Raider. So still not doing enough here. Let's go with +1 AP and lethals. You get 16 hits and then 4 lethals with all the rerolls and everything else added in. You average out with 13-ish wounds. It is now AP 1, so it's going to be getting significantly more of them through because the Land Raider was getting a 2-up save before. So it's getting a 3-up save now, and we get about 4 through. That does 12 to 13 damage, approximately. But if you go with +1 AP and Sustained, because you're re-rolling all of your wounds, you're getting 24 hits, you're averaging 13 wounds, and then that's about 4.5 failed, and that will do just a little bit more, an average of 13. So when it comes to killing a Land Raider with Armor of Contempt in combat, it is actually better to use the spears. So let's move on to something else, though. Let's move on to an Imperial Knight. We're always going to have the same number of attacks with the weapons, so either way it goes, I'm not going to say that again. Our hits are also going to be the same, so I'm not going to say that again, but our wounds, our failed saves, and our damage will change depending on our target here. So against an Imperial Knight, crits on 5s, lethal. You get 18-ish wounds, it fails 12 and takes 24 damage. Not bad. If you go with Sustained, it does more. So you get 19 wounds there, it fails about 13 and takes about 26 damage. But if you go with the +1 AP, again, we see it's even more damage. So +1 AP and lethal, that's 16 wounds, but because of that +1 AP, they're going to fail 13 and take 27-ish damage. And then if we go with the Sustained with +1 AP, we get 16.5 wounds, equating to about 14-ish failed, and it does about 27, 28 damage to an Imperial Knight there. So enough to take out an Imperial Knight, even with its Feel No Pain, because it'll make about 3 of them, 4 of them. So that should be enough to get rid of it either way. So spears are looking good there, but let's check out the axes. So the same thing. On the first thing, we have crits on 5 for lethals. We end up with 14-ish wounds. They fail about 10, and they take about 30 damage. So right off the bat, we're automatically, even with AP 1, because they don't have access to Armor of Contempt, we automatically are doing way more damage here. If we go with criticals on 5 for Sustained, we do about 31 wounds. And then if we go with +1 AP and lethals, we get 32 wounds. And then if we go with +1 AP and sustained, we get about 33 wounds. So spears and the hammers, the axes, are tied right now in terms of their targets and what they're effective against. Let's go up against Magnus. We're probably not going to kill him either way, but we go with spears. So we end up with 18 wounds. He fails 9 of them, but because he's -1 damage, he only takes 9 wounds from that. If we go with crits on 5 sustained, we get almost 20 wounds, but, you know, he fails 10, takes about 10, so still alive. If we go with +1 AP, these are just going to be less because he has a 4-up invuln, and, you know, he's already taken 4-ups on these criticals on 5-ups, which is just going to be better. So if we go with +1 AP, whether it's lethal or sustained, we do about 5. So if we go +1 AP with lethal and sustained, we do about 8 damage total to him. Alright, so let's swing with the axes. If we go with crits on 5s for lethals, we end up with about 15 wounds. He fails about 5 of them and takes about 10 damage, so not so bad. If we do sustained, we do get a little bit more. We get 15 wounds. We get about 5 failed still, but it is a little bit more on average at 10-ish, 0.3-ish, so something like that. But if we go with +1 AP and we go with sustained, now we're AP2 and we're bringing Magnus to his invuln. And obviously I'm not adding in Magnus any rerolls in this. I'm not adding in blank damage. I'm just not worrying about that in this. I just want to see how much they can do base. But because he does have the -1 damage in like his profile, he normally picks that when he knows he's going to be targeted. And so yeah, that's just what we're going to do here. Anyway, you're going to end up with 12, 13 wounds. He's going to fail about half of those and take about 13 damage if you're going with the +1 AP and lethals. If you're going with +1 AP and sustained though, you end up with about 13 wounds. He fails about half, about 6.5. Takes 13 wounds. So that's the best one. So far, the axes are actually better in 2 different situations. But let's move on to the avatar. Let's attack him with spears. We're going to end up with 15 wounds because we're -1 to wound, but we do have rerolls. We get 10 lethals, so overall, we're going to get 15 wounds. He's going to fail half those, and because he halves the damage, he's only going to take 7.5 wounds. If we go with critical 5s and sustained, we get about 11, 12 wounds. He fails about half, takes about 6 damage. Now, if we go with +1 AP, again, it's not going to be any better because the avatar has a 4-up invuln. So if we go with lethals and +1 AP, we average about 6. If we go sustained and +1 AP, we average about 5. So don't do those. But we have our axes to swing with. So if we swing with our axes, we will actually get 12 wounds. We will then only get 4 of them through, but because he halves damage on a 3 damage weapon, our 3 damage becomes 2 because it rounds up, and he's taking 8 from that. So off the bat, hammers are better. Hammers, axes, whatever they're called. If we go with sustained hits, we average a little bit less. We get about 9 wounds on him. He fails about 1/3 of those, so it takes 3, and that's about 6 damage. But if we go with +1 AP, and we go with lethals, we end up with about 9-ish wounds. He fails a little over, he fails like half, you know, and that's going to be like 5 wounds. So on average, he'll take about 9 wounds. Now, if we go with +1 AP and lethals on the avatar, though, this is where it shines. 9-ish wounds, he fails half, he takes about 9 damage. Still not enough to kill him, but it's a lot more than the other stuff. 25% more-ish than the best on the spears, so that's going to be much better against that target as well. So let's do something similar, like a Catan. We attack with the spears, they get halved and everything. They fail 9 wounds from the first one because we get 18 wounds on him, and he takes 6 damage because he's not -1 to be wounded like the avatar was. So in my math with the avatar, he was -1 to be wounded. Although no fate dice to reroll any saves or anything. But against the Catan, we do about 6 damage to it because it has a 5-up Feel No Pain, and that's pretty good. If we go with sustained hits on it, we do get slightly more. We get about 19 wounds. It fails half of those, takes about 10-ish, and out of that it takes about 6 damage from the Feel No Pain coming in there. Then if we go with our +1 AP, we do less damage because it has a 4-up invuln already. So if we go with lethals, we get 5, and then if we go with sustained, we get about 5.5, 5, 6, so something like that. Now, if we take the axes, though, if we go with the crits on 5s, that's going to be 14, 15 wounds, and then he's going to fail half of them, so, you know, 7, 8. It takes about 10 damage after that, because they're 2 apiece, and he gets a 5-up Feel No Pain. So, it overall, does about 10 damage. If we go with sustained, we do about 15 wounds, he fails half, and takes about 10 damage after the Feel No Pain. So, hammers seem to be better If we go with +1 AP, it's less because, again, he has an invuln already, and he only has an invuln, which is why the crits on 5s for lethals or sustained is better here, because he only has an invuln. Now, at least I think he only has an invuln. And if he doesn't, he only has an armor save of 4 up. Now, if we go with +1 AP and lethal or sustained, we average about 8 or 9 wounds, which is less than going for criticals on 5 ups for sustained or lethals, either one of them. So again, the axes, the hammers, they are better in that situation. So let's go after something else, like a Terminator squad. We'll attack them with spears. Overall, we're going to get about 20 wounds. We don't reroll wounds against them, so we do get about 20 wounds. They will fail about 7 because they have Armor of Contempt up, and because we're only 2 damage, we're only going to kill 3 of them, 3.5-ish. If we go with crits on 5s for sustained, we do get more wounds at 23. They'll fail about 8, and you'll kill 3 to 4, like on average, like for sure. If you go with the +1 AP though, and you go with lethals, you end up with about 13 wounds. They'll fail about half of those, so like 6.5-ish, and that'll kill about 3 guys. But if you go with sustained, you end up with about 20 wounds. They'll fail half of those for 10, and that'll just straight kill 5 Terminators. So that is pretty good. So right there, nice to have. But let's swing in with our axes. If we go crits on 5s lethals, we get 16 wounds. They have a 2-up save, so they only fail like not even 3. And because they are 3 damage apiece, though, we kill 2 to 3 of them on that. If we go with crits on 5s for sustained, we end up with about 18, 19 wounds. They're going to fail 3-ish, and that'll kill 3 models pretty consistently on average there. But if we go with +1 AP, now they're only getting a 3-up save. So +1 AP and lethal, we'll get about 15 wounds. They'll fail 5 of them, and then 5 guys will die. Same thing with sustained, it'll probably be similar math. 16 wounds-ish, right? And then, you fail a little over 5, and that'll just kill 5 models. So again, even against something like Terminators, against Terminators with Armor of Contempt, having the axes is better, as long as you're playing the shield host. So let's go after something like Guardsmen, because I'm sure the spears will win this one. So crits on 5 lethals, 23 hits, 19 wounds. You kill like 19 guys, because they're AP2, so you just die. You go with sustained, you get like 30 hits, like 25 wounds, you'll kill like 20-something guys. If you go with the +1 AP and you go with lethals, you kill like 20-ish, 21. And then if you go with +1 AP and sustained, they definitely don't get a save against that. And you're just going to cut right through them. So you get 30 attacks, that's going to be 25, that wound, and then that's just going to kill 25 guys. They do get Feel No Pains, but they have to roll 2 dice, so the likelihood is pretty low, but you might get 1 of them, so they may kill 24 or something like that. If you hit them with hammers, if you hit them with the axes, if you do lethals, you're getting 18, they'll fail, a bunch, so 12. That'll kill 12 guys for sure, because each one has to make a 6-up 3 times, so they're just dead. If you go with sustain, that's probably better. It's going to be 20 wounds, 14-ish guys will die, and that'll just kill like 14. If you go with +1 AP and lethals, you're getting like 18 wounds. That'll kill like 15 guys, and that'll kill like 15 guys because they get no save. And then if you go with sustained, you're probably getting the most here. It's probably 20-ish. Yeah, then you're going to get like 17. So you'll kill like 17, 16 with that one on the +1 AP and sustained. Not as much as the spears, like I said, but still. Killing 16, 17 guardsmen for sure is the difference of your opponent making a couple of extra Feel No Pains. Because really, if you have the +1 AP and sustained on the spears, your opponent is still going to get a 6-up Feel No Pain. So they might make 1, so you're looking at maybe 24 guys dead there. So that is a difference of 7, which is, it is significant potentially, especially considering OC. But this isn't the target that they generally want to be going after anyway, and they should just shoot it dead. But let's go after some Marines. Let's see how they can do against Marines, because we know they're better against elite things like Terminators so far. But let's go after Marines. So crits on 5s lethals. We're going to get 20 wounds. You're going to fail 10 of those, and you're going to have 10 guys die. So the whole unit just dies. So either way, that's pretty good. Crits on 5 sustained. 23 wounds, like 12 die. If you do AP +1 and lethals, you're going to get like 18 hits. 18 wounds, and then you'll get a bunch through because they're AP 3 at this point, so they become AP 2. So you're getting 5-up saves. And then if you go with +1 AP and sustained, you're getting 30 hits, 20 wounds there because you're winning on 3s. So you're going to fail with a 3rd, which is going to be like 12, 13. So that's going to kill like 12, 13 guys. We go with axes, though. Crits on 5 lethals, that's 18 wounds. You fail 6 because you're getting a 3-up save, yeah. And I'll kill 6. If we go with sustained, I get more hits, for sure, like 24 hits, like 8 wounds. Like 8 go through, I mean. So like 8 wounds there, and that'll kill 8. So you're still close to killing an entire unit there. If you go with +1 AP, now they're only going to get a 4-up save if they've used Armor of Contempt. So on the +1 AP lethals, you're looking at like 17 wounds, which will be like 9 that go through because they wound on 2s there. So if we go +1 AP lethals, we get like 17 hits, or wounds, I keep doing that. And we get like 17 wounds, and they're going to fail half of those, so like 9. And then it's going to kill 9. If we go +1 AP sustained, we have 24 hits, wounding on 2, so we have 20 wounds. They're going to fail half, which is 10, and they're going to kill all 10. So in this situation, the spears are technically better and do more damage, but they do, like, you don't need it. You can just take the hammers, be +1 AP, and on average, you should kill all 10 Marines. So the spears do technically win that one as well. But overall, the hammers, I keep calling them hammers, but I'm going to keep saying it. The spear, hammer things, the axes, the Castellan axes are definitely the better option here if you're playing a shield host. Alright, so I think that's enough examples for everybody. I can't go over every possible thing, you know? So if you have any ideas down in the comments, let me know. Yeah. Now, I did say we were going to talk about their durability and such, so we are, right now. So this unit is toughness 7, it's got 4 wounds. The toughness 7 is kind of irrelevant for the most part. Like most things that want to shoot you are going to be winning you on 3s anyway, but there is a point where some weapons are less effective. Like anything strength 6 or strength 7 tends to have a harder time with them, so that is definitely something to note. It's just that like most of the time things that are going to be hitting them are generally stronger than strength 7, so it's not going to end up mattering, but there are times where it does. Now, they also don't have access to, like, Armor of Contempt, unfortunately, but if you take them in a shield host, you can get them a 4-up Feel No Pain versus Mortal Wounds, which includes Dev Wounds now, because they are 4 wounds, and so they can take a 3 damage hit without dying, so that's pretty nice. Pretty nice for sure. They still died at, like, 2 damage hits, just like regular Custodians or, like, any other Terminator, so having an extra wound does actually not help against those kinds of attacks, but I think for sure, like, these things should be 5 wounds per dude. Like, they still take 2 damage, or like, they still take 2 3 damage hits to kill 1, but it takes 3 2 damage hits to kill 1. So I know I'm crazy, but it's fine, I think. I think you're going to find that they are rather durable, though. Like, even in small numbers, against the right targets, they can still do a ton of damage. Like, 2 of these guys could still potentially kill, like, a medium tank by themselves. The other thing that is nice about them is that they can be more durable than expected, which kind of, like, adds to their potential durability. The other nice thing about them is that they're actually more mobile than expected, which kind of adds to their durability. So, like, first off, being able to deep strike and then rapid ingress for free with a captain, that allows you to put them in the best possible place where they are safe from taking damage in the first place. If they survive through the next turn or so, you can then use their datasheet ability to deep strike them back down somewhere else, probably out of line of sight. So you gotta kill them all at once, or be in combat with them, which is probably not a place you want to be unless you have some like really heavy hitters going at them. But again, when they are out in the open, they are about as easy to kill as 6 Assault Terminators without any kind of Feel No Pain, which is to say, not all that hard with dedication. So, however, if you do kill like 1 or 2 of them, then using Avenge the Fallen is actually kind of hilarious, because when 1 of them dies, you actually get an extra attack overall. When 2 of them die, you have the same number of attacks. So, kind of a cool thing that you can do there as well. But you can also use Fallback, Shoot, and Charge on this unit, because you're not using it on Venatari. I'm just not sure if you take, like, open the armory enhancement thing, or if you take the ignores cover enhancement. I mean, like, the more I think about it, the more I think you might want the ignores cover on them, since they can fall back and shoot and charge and stuff, and they actually do put out a decent amount of damage that way. That may just have more utility than having a little bit of extra damage that you may be able to make up for by using Avenge the Fallen, and just generally speaking, they pretty much kill their target that they're going after anyway. But again, maybe not. I don't know. What do you guys think? What I think is that you can also take this unit in small numbers as well. I think that's a completely valid option, because small units of these things can be annoying for your opponent to target. They're easier to hide. They give you multiple redeploys. You can deep strike, 2 different units around different turns and things like that. Do secondaries with them, get in people's way, all that kind of stuff. They're really good to be able to just be mobile in small units, and you can go in multiple directions. So They can do serious damage as well with that extra AP on this crits on the 5s, and even just those 2 will kill like whole units and help clean up during some of the last few turns, where there's just like less and less on the board to deal with something that's toughness 7 with 4 wounds and has a 2 up, 4 up. That can also slap like a hell in combat. So yeah, I think that they're just a good unit overall. I'm sure there's other things you can do with them as well. But before we wrap this up, let's take a look at the captain with some of the things like open the armories or whatever the enhancement's called, because he's just kind of dumb. He's got 6 attacks with an axe. It's, right, axe? Yeah, I said axe instead of hammer. It will be AP2 and 4 damage. So let's go with sustain, because I have a feeling this is going to get us the most net damage, considering he's now strength 10, and even if he's hitting something like toughness 11 or higher, we just saw that it's probably better to go with +1 AP and sustained hits. So anyway, we're going to go up against like a castigator. So you get 6 attacks. We'll say he wounds on 4, so that's going to end up with 4 wounds. It has Armor of Contempt. It takes 8 damage. If you don't have Armor of Contempt, it takes 12 damage. So maybe a bad example because of Miracle Dice, but that's fine. It was a Gladiator or a Hammerhead instead. So almost one-shots a Hammerhead by himself and does one-shot a Gladiator. Does one-shot a Baby Knight or a War Dog. Like, he knows how to swing a futuristic gun axe, let me tell you. He'll kill 2 Assault Terminators by himself if they don't have Feel No Pain. Like, if they do have Feel No Pain, it gets a little weird. But against other Custodian units, he kills like 2 Allarus by himself, so he's pretty good. But honestly, he just ain't that great compared to what he gives to the unit with Ignores Cover, in my opinion. The unit itself can do all of the work and all of the damage. You don't need this extra damage on his hammer spear thing, I don't think. I was not like super enthusiastic about the Ignores Cover thing when I first like started doing a breakdown of these units, but I think I like it more now. It's only 5 points as well, so it's pretty fucking good. So that's what I think of the Allarus. I think they are good. I think they should be 5 wounds, and I think you should run them with axes if you're playing the detachment that's good, which is the shield host. They're not the best option in absolutely every situation, but in almost every situation where the spears are better, it's against some like non-ideal target like guardsmen, and the target still gets killed with axes even if they do less overall damage like the Marines, or the target is something that you won't really have issues with if they're bogging you down in combat if you didn't manage to get through them on the first swing, like Terminators or something. And keep in mind that each one of these targets takes about 25% more damage, like total, because I never added in a captain swinging in any of this math. So against things like Terminators, you're talking closer to 7 of them dead in one swing from this Allarus unit when you add in that captain. Allarus are awesome and everyone should use them. And play shield host. So thanks for watching this video and hammering hard with me in this one. If you guys like this kind of content, if you want to see more of this kind of content, then axe the like button, man. Thunderhammer the bell icon and the subscribe button. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think of the video and of the Allarus Custodians, and of course check out our other videos as well. So by the golden light of the Emperor, I'm going to teleport on back to the laboratory on Terra. So theory hard, and I'll catch you next time.